Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. Now for those of you who have seen recent videos will know exactly what this is. This is the last remaining piece of grass tree root that we have to turn. It started off at a great big long piece, well over 2 feet long. We've made 5 pieces from it so far, and this is the very last piece. I must also say that this is the last time I will ever turn this wood. The reason for that is because the dust from this wood is incredibly dangerous. It's classed as carcinogenic, so breathing it into your lungs can cause cancer. So we do take all the steps necessary to keep us safe, but I don't want to push my luck too far, and this will be the very last piece I ever turn. So let's make it a good one. Now the shape of this instantly makes you think of a vase, and there's been many a comment in previous videos with people suggesting that I make a vase from it, and despite wanting to do something else, I am indeed going to make a vase, but it's not going to be that way up, it's going to be that way, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But first of all, we need to get this on the lathe so we can start turning. Now one of the resources I use that really helps me get to grips with new techniques and also helps me create new ideas for the future projects is an online resource called the Woodworkers Guild of America, who are kindly sponsoring today's video. Now the Woodworkers Guild of America is an incredible online resource packed with woodturning tutorials, tips and inspiration. Whether you're just starting out or have been doing this for many years, their premium videos cover everything from bandsaw techniques and sharpening to cabinet making, jigs, gluing, lathe work, and even deep dives into the understanding of wood itself. Lately, I've been diving into their content on tool maintenance and bandsaw techniques. Super practical stuff which has really made a difference to my work. Now, like anything else, I'm always trying to plan for the future, and one of the projects I want to try and complete during the summer is to build myself a new workbench. It's something I've had on my mind for quite a while, but I've been a little bit daunted by the overall scope and size of the project. So to help the process along, I've been watching a lot of the videos on the site about bench building, as well as all the tools that you can make that help make the workbench more useful. Now, being a visual learner is far more useful for me to be able to watch the processes in action as opposed to reading it in a manual. And the instructors on the videos I've been watching walk you through each step in a clear, down-to-earth way. It really does feel like having a mentor in the workshop with you. And this is the best bit. The first 1,000 of you to click the link in the description can join the Woodworkers Guild of America for a full year of premium membership for just $1.49, which is a brilliant deal, but it is only for new members. So don't hang about. Why not make an investment in your woodworking future? And of course, a huge thanks to the Woodworkers Guild of America for supporting the channel and helping us all keep learning. Okay, so we've got our piece on the lathe. It's not tightened up yet because I want to try and use as much of this as possible, so I want to try and get this into the center so we can get it as round as we can so we can make the most of our turning. Now that's a little bit higher there, so let's just back this off a little bit, drop it down a fraction, retighten. Right, it's a little bit wobbly this way, but that is really about as good as we can get it. So we'll tighten this up fully. We can make a start. Okay, now we're just about ready to start. Now, as I mentioned before, this is going to be a vase, and this is going to be the bottom. Now, normally when you get a piece of wood this size and this shape, which screams out vase, please make me a vase, you would think that this would be a natural base, going from a nice narrow base and fluting out to the top. Now the reason why I'm going to turn this round and make this the base is because the bit we cut out from this end we turned into a little box with a wider base and a narrower top, and in some way I'd like the design from this to feature in this piece as well. Okay, we're just about ready to start. Now, as I mentioned before, the dust that's going to come off this piece is incredibly dangerous, so the precautions I'm taking, I'm going to be wearing an air-fed mask. This will keep out 99.5% of all the dust particles in the air. If it gets too bad, I'm going to be using my normal air extraction, which I use when I'm sanding, and also constantly we'll be running the 2 air scrubbers which I have in the shop. And all these things together, as well as open windows to help create a draft. It should help keep the dangers down to a minimum. Now we're going to be starting to turn at about 950 RPM with a 3/8 inch bowl gouge, and the first steps is just to start working down this edge, get it all nice and round, see what we can find underneath, and then we've got to create a tenon on this end. Yep, it's as dusty as I remember it. Okay, that's a nice start. We started to take down this edge. Now these holes we've got here and here, a little bit there, and on this side here, I put hot glue in as a plug to try and make sure that the resin we poured in the original piece didn't come out of. I wasn't sure if it was connected to the split in the center, so I put hot glue in there just to make sure. So we've still got to get past those pieces, but already we can start to see the amazing colours coming through in this piece. Now what we're turning off is a very, very fine powder. You won't see any shavings from this because it's not wood, it's a monocot, so primarily it's a really, really finely compressed grass strands that make up this material. So we can't call it wood, but I've no idea what else to call it, so we'll call it a material, and I will slip up a few times and call it wood as well. Now we know the kind of shape we're wanting to go for. Wider base, narrower top. Now the top I want to flute out a little bit, so we're going to have to start working this base in and then out to a wider flute. Now I don't know whether to do that in this orientation or to do it once we've turned it around, once we've created a tenon on this side. And looking at it, I think I'm going to create the tenon first, then we'll turn it around, and then we'll start doing most of the shaping. Now I'm just going to do a normal 50mm tenon, which will fit obviously into my 50mm jaws. We don't need to make anything bigger than this because it's always going to have support either with a tailstock or with a steady rest. So this is going to be big enough for our purposes. Okay, that's our tenon nicely made. It's got a nice little dovetail on the end there to grab hold of. So we'll take this out, turn it round and carry on. Okay, we're all nice and safely turned round. Now when I cut this piece originally, we put a nice big beefy tenon on because we didn't really know exactly what we're going to be doing with it. So I left that on there as a proviso for whatever may come. But we don't need that now. So with a 1/8 inch parting tool, we'll just quickly cut this off so we can bring up the tailstock again, and then there's no chance of us going out of round when we take that off, if we were to take that off later. Okay, excellent. We've taken off the tenon, we brought the tailstock back up, so now we can carry on, start shaping this, and not worry about having to remove that later on. Now the primary concern which is going through at my head at the moment is getting the balance between shape of the overall piece and the diameter of the neck as well. So initially I'm just going to start creating a shape, a small curve in here, which I feel looks nice, and then fit that shape to the rest of the body itself. Right, just taking a stop there just to have a look at what's going on. Now we've still got a bit of this natural feeling edge on the top here, which may need to go just in a fraction just to clean it up a little bit, but overall I don't mind that too much. Now this neck shape is pretty much what I had in mind. Whether or not it needs to go any thinner, I'm not overly sure. I don't think so. I think that, once balancing with the rest, is going to look alright. Now I'm starting to regret wearing shorts today because a lot of the dust that is coming off this is going straight inside my shoes, and I can feel it crunching as I'm walking at the moment, so I'll have to deal with that at a later stage. Now this yellow wood, it's not wood, this yellow material underneath, what looks wonderful when you first cut it, it'll go a deeper colour when we finish it, and over time it turns a kind of a reddy colour as well as it oxidizes with the air. So it really is quite an amazing material in terms of colour changing abilities. Right, so next step, we'll match this angle with this neck, and the best way to do that is to put the angle you want on the tool rest. So if you wanted to cut straight, obviously have the tool rest straight. If you want to cut at an angle, put it at the angle you want, and then all you have to do is follow it along with the tool. Now I've got a slight flaring at the bottom, which I also like, so I may leave that in the final piece as well. The one thing that just slightly concerned me is that I want to get below this divot here, and whether or not getting below that divot means this has to change a little bit remains to be seen. Right, we'll start creating the rest of the shape here. I've got the speed up now to about 1200 RPM. Okay, just a quick stop to take a look. We're nearly at the base of that. I tell you what, we've got the nicer cleaner wood, not wood, we've got the nicer cleaner material at the top, and as we get lower down we've got a lot of these almost like tiger stripes at the base, and it would be really, really cool to leave some of that in. The look of this will change quite dramatically once we sand and over time when it starts to oxidize, but I'm really quite excited by that thought. If we just try and leave this in rather than getting it all down to the clean wood, and that as well, that'll be fantastic. Right, I think the best way to get this nice and flat and straight quickly is to use a scraper on it. It may give us a little bit of tear out, but this material sands so easily, I think we'll be alright. Now, just there, I'm fairly certain that that is the starting of the resin coming through that we poured at the very start of this series of videos. So that'll be quite interesting as well. Well, I'm going to get my big scraper out, get it nice and trued up along this edge, still keeping this flare at the bottom, and see where that takes us at the end. Okay, now I'm just standing back a little way from this to see if that actually balances in terms of shape. Initially I didn't think it did, but when I turned it, but as I take the tool rest away now, I think it does. Maybe just a slight bit of a longer transition here into that neck. So take this neck a little bit narrower, down a little bit longer. Or did I go too far? I don't know. Come on, somebody shout out. Right, I think I'm going to take in this neck a little bit more. I'll start from here and then go through the process again. So this will end up about 1/4 of an inch narrower. Okay, I like that. I do like that. Just that slight narrowing I think really helped it. Right, next steps. We've got to sand the outside. We'll put a sealer on it, so then we can bring up the steady rest and we can start hollowing it out and creating a nice neck. Okay, right, I'll let you watch a bit of the sanding, and then I shall bring you back when it's done. Okay, sanding went well. I just had my shop vac secured to my tool rest with a bit of tape, and that helped extract dust as well as my normal vacuum system. Anything that you can do really to keep the dust out of the atmosphere, you should try and do. Now, I stopped. Now, as soon as I finished sanding, I got myself out of the workshop again to let the air scrubbers do their work and let the dust settle before we continue. Oh, by the way, if anybody could just quickly remind me after they've watched this to order some 120 grit 2-inch sanding discs, I'd be very grateful. I've needed them for the last 2 or 3 weeks and I keep on forgetting to order them. Okay, we're just going to put on a bit of isopropyl alcohol now just to remove the dust from the surface and also get a first look at how this is going to look with a finish on. And it's really quite incredible. That is so amazing. I'm just kind of lost for words. And I've turned quite a few pieces of this and I'm still lost for words. Right, we'll let this dry and then we'll come back on with the sealer. Okay, that's all nice and dry, so we're going on with a shellac sealer. This is a blonde shellac. If you've enjoyed it so far, I'd really appreciate you hitting that like button, and if you could subscribe as well, then that would be absolutely amazing. It's completely free, doesn't cost you anything, and it makes a great deal of difference to us. Thank you. Now the next step is to bring up our steady rest so we can start hollowing this out. We'll put the final finish on the end when we're done. Okay, we're all nicely prepared in the steady rest. This was made for me by a wonderful gentleman called Tim Mason. He made it specifically for this lathe type, and if you are interested or you do need one, then there's always an email address for him in the description of all my videos. Now, we are going to hollow this out quite a long way down, probably about 12 inches. Now, I would normally use Forstner bits like this. The trouble is my Jacob's chuck is too wide to get past this neck. Okay, so what I would normally do isn't possible. Even with an extension, my Forstner bits without the Jacob's chuck there will only get about halfway down. So we're going to have to go in with an auger bit like this, and the largest auger bit I have is 20 millimeters, and that is going to have to do us. Now, it may not look very long, this one, but luckily I also have this one, which is going to get us down there no problem at all. Okay, that was completely successful. We've gone in about 10 inches and we hit resin at about 4 inches from the bottom. So at least we know now exactly how far that crack went. Okay, now we've hollowed out as much as we can. I'm just coming in here with my 3/8 inch ball gouge again. I'm just going to open up this neck so it looks a little bit prettier than just a hole on a flat surface. Okay, excellent. That looks nice. All right, I'm just going to quickly sand this little bit inside here, as far as I can get my finger. There's no real need for it to make you watch this bit, so I'll bring you back when that's done. Okay, that's all sorted and looking good. Now, I've taken away the steady rest, but I still need some sort of support. So I've just had some very strange looks off my dogs as I've stolen one of their balls. I'm just going to shove that in there just to help keep us safe for the final polish. Get the dog hairs off it. Right, let's take this tape off. Okay, now I would normally use an abrasive paste or something like this on this surface because I can feel a couple of raised areas just from where the shellac's gone on. Now I don't want to put on an abrasive paste because it's going to get deep into these holes that we've got, this kind of rustic looking areas, and it'll be a nightmare to get out. So I'm just going to use a little bit of 1000 grit Scotch pad, holding it underneath while it's spinning and just going up and down the surface. That'll just help denib everything and get us ready for the final polish. Much better. Right, now I've been umming and ahhing about what final finish to put on. Now, during this series of these videos, I've put on a few different finishes, and my favourite has been the Shine Juice. So I think we're going to use it on this one. So if you're not familiar with Shine Juice, then have a look at a few videos back on my channel. You'll find an entire video on shellac and its uses and how things like Shine Juice is made. Right, we're going to apply this with machine spinning. I'm just going to dribble it onto a cloth as I'm going up and down the piece. If you feel the cloth start to pull, then just a few more bits dribbled on it. Over time it builds up a beautiful shine. The heat, the friction caused by the rubbing will cure it, and it should hopefully give us a nice, beautiful finish by the end. Okay, right, I'm going to take off the tenon, have a bit tidy up, and then we can look at the entire set together. Oh, there we go. A rather elegant and rustic grass tree vase. I'm so pleased we went with this shape. I think to make it the other way around, it would have still looked okay, but with something more organic feeling about this kind of shape. When you take into consideration the other pieces we've made as well, I think it fits in very nicely with the set. Now if you look carefully at the set, you'll see very clearly the oxidation that happens over a relatively short period of time. Now this is the first one we turned, and as you can see by the colour, it's had far more time to turn the wonderful deep red colour that it goes when it's exposed to UV, and the same will happen to the others as it goes along. This one was the second one we completed, and that is well on the way. You can tell the difference where there's been no sunlight to the base. It's still pretty much its original colour. So, let me know what you think. Which is your favourite piece out of the set? If I had to choose one, I don't know what it would be. I do love this little pot. There's something about the shape which is just me. It's simple, it's robust, it's got a low centre of gravity, which is just like me as well. I think the best decision I made was to core the bigger one. You see the amount of dust that comes out of these things when they're turned, and if we hadn't cored it, these three lovely little bowls would have just been dust on the floor. So looking back, that was by far the best decision we made. If this is the first video you're watching of this series, then I'll put a link to the others in the description below, and I'll also put up a playlist as well, I think, and put it on the channel, just so everybody can get to see the transition over time of our 2.5 foot long grass tree root into these 6 rather nice pieces. Now I'm not quite sure exactly what I'm going to do with this set. I did consider selling them, and I still may, but then again, what do I sell? Do I sell it as a complete set, or do I split them up into different lots? If you have an opinion on that, then please let me know. I'd love to hear what you all think. Anyway, that's it for this week. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, I would really appreciate a like and subscribe and all the usual things. And if you could share it as well, then that would be absolutely amazing. Don't forget that if you do leave a comment, then you are going to be entered into the next giveaway, whenever that happens. But apart from that, thank you very much indeed for watching, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.